Hi, everyone. Today we have a very special
Okay.
guest. We're talking with Lora Shipman. She's a social media consultant who offers training and workshops to help people navigate Instagram and Canva and all the other social media out there. The list is too long to say them all. Um, she's also the host of an amazing podcast, The Lora Shipman Show, which discusses social media, time management, marketing, incredible tips, really insightful. So thanks for joining us today, Lora. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is such a treat.
So Laura, we met you on an ASA chat.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are listening, ASA is this great platform that helps women get advertising in their podcast. And when this pandemic was about 2 weeks old, they had a big series of just small Zoom meetings where people could meet other women who have podcasts. And Laura was one of them, and she caught our attention. So it's nice to actually finally meet you in person, in person, and
Right.
and to kind of give everybody a sense of what you do. So thank you to Anna and Lisa and Aileen who have started tuning in. People are dropping in as we chat. If anybody has any comments about social media, podcasts, all kinds of topics that Laura will let you know she covers, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Love answering questions. So if people have them, definitely let me know.
Excellent. So do you mind just kind of by starting giving everybody a little overview about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I started out with my own business like back in, 2007, before social media was even a thing, which was kind of cool because I got to grow up with social media. And I feel bad for the people or the entrepreneurs or the small businesses who are jumping into social media now, because it's like a fire hose of water, like just coming at you. And there's so much. Oh yeah, it's just intimidating and overwhelming. And I was lucky because I just kind of, got on board even before it started. And I just, content creation became my passion. Like I love creating content. I love trying to figure out new and exciting ways for people to gain impact on their social media accounts and things like that. So I usually just focus on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I do a little bit of Twitter, Pinterest. I love Pinterest is a great tool. And then you mentioned Canva. I love Canva for all of my graphics and stuff, because that was a struggle too, starting out early is, I didn't have any graphic design background. And so they've made it so easy for us now with tools like Canva, and then the different schedulers that we have out there to schedule social media and get it out there. And one of the things that I always focus on for people is just like their biggest pain point with social media is not having the time and then not being consistent in their social media. So I try and address that. And one of my favorite things to do is my batch and slay method of just getting people through social media and creating like a month's worth of content. So you're not stressed out about it, and that you're not married to your phone or to your laptop to try and keep that all up and running. But yeah, so that's what I do. So I manage for different accounts for a lot of people. I manage a ton of different accounts, and it's just me. I'm a one-woman show. And then I do a lot of trainings and workshops and things like that too.
And you have a podcast.
And yes, and of course the podcast, which I like to call that as a teaching podcast. It's one of those things that, you jump in, you listen, and you're going to leave there with something to execute that you can try in your business immediately. Like I don't like leading people down a path of just, fluff and stuff that, I want people when they listen to me that they're actually going to take something that I say and execute it in their business and then see results right away. I'm a big proponent of that for sure.
Well, I think one of the things we most appreciate about what you're doing is like you are so forthcoming with your information.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you do this as a business, but your resource page on your website is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, we printed out the list of all the free resources you give people about, repurposing content and turning statistics into infographics. And there's just like all of these, there's like a long list, failure to plan and ignoring strategy. Like there's just like you were just saying, like everything is actionable. Everything you
Yes.
provide people is like, oh, I can go do this right now, and I can up my game. And so it's really great of you to provide so much free information to people, because there's so many people out there where they get you on the hook, like, oh, there's
Yes.
a webinar and I'm going to watch it, and you get pretty much have already heard everything that they're giving you for free, and
Yeah.
then at the end of it, it's like, so pay me $1,500 and then I'll teach you.
Right. And then, you know, because I learned like that too. And that was one of the things that frustrated me the most when I was just out there starting to learn is they say there's a lot of free information, but there's really not a lot of free information. And one of the things that frustrated me was this hook, like you were talking about, and I lost credibility in the person I was learning from, because what they do is they hook you in with that hook, and you jump into that next course or that next webinar or whatever it may be, and you still kind of leave with more questions than answers. And maybe you didn't get the answer to that initial hook before they're trying to sell you to the next one.
Right.
And it frustrated me so much. So I swore I would never do that. And somebody once said to me, but Laura, you give everything you know away for free. Aren't you afraid that people won't hire you? And I'm like, no, it's actually just the opposite. My business has blossomed because of that, because you build that trust with the people who are out there, and you don't know who you're impacting whenever you put anything out there, whether it's a podcast, a blog post, you know, an Instagram post. You don't know whose life you're going to touch and actually change what's going on for them, help them experience a quick win. And the minute that they experience that quick win, I think you've got them for life, and they're always turning towards you. And then sooner or later, they probably will become a client. And what I want to say about that is the way that I position myself as a marketer when I'm marketing, it's a marathon. Like, you're not going to make a sale overnight at all. And I think it's ridiculous to think that you're going to be able to do that by just posting one salesy post on social media.
Right.
And for anybody who's listening to us or watching us today, I really challenge you to figure out how you can get a little meatier in the content that you put out there. And even where it does feel like you're giving your stuff away for free, because it's going to change the whole dynamic of your business when you do that. I truly believe that. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Oops.
Yeah.
So, you know, as speaking from personal experience, Amy and I have several pages. We have a group, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Pinterest. We haven't even dove into any of the other. How do you, what advice do you give people to sort of manage your time and not be totally consumed by social media every day? I mean, I know Amy and I probably spend a couple hours each on social media every day, posting and commenting. You know, we know engagement is important, so we're out there talking to people, and but it's overwhelming.
That's like a really good question. So I think one of the first things that you have to determine is where your audience is. Like, what social platform does your audience hang out on? And that's where you want to be more prevalent, or the most prevalent. And then if people always ask me, well, where should I be on social media? And it's going to depend for everybody's business, but I think minimally everybody should have a Facebook page, and then add one other social media platform to it. And here's why, and I'm kind of taking the long way around to answer your question, but here's why. Because I think people, they treat Facebook now how people treated websites maybe 5-7 years ago, right? So think of Facebook as your brochure. You may not get a lot of interactions on Facebook at all. And in fact, your engagement rate might be really low, but that's okay. Don't throw out Facebook because of that. It still holds a purpose. And the way that Facebook is setting up the business page right now, it almost acts like a mini website. So you can throw in services in there and really describe those and put pricing on that if you want to. You can sell from your Facebook page, all of these things, but people are going to want to see who you are as a business and how you respond to the people who connect with your business on Facebook. So Facebook, I think you need to have that. Then figure out what your second social media platform is. And the way that I look at time management with social media is this, and I'm going to kind of give you guys insight to my batch and slay program, because I think I think this will really resonate with people and help people understand. Before I ever worked in the digital marketing space, I used to work for the top sunglass retailer in the world. And I was in their training and development department as well. And I was also in their store operations department and their marketing department. So I know a lot about retail and stuff and how people purchase and how people consume information and things like that. And it dawned on me when I was working, I have multiple clients, and it dawned on me, why don't I do what retailers do? And what retailers do is this. They have one major message for a month or a quarter, and it's no surprise. Like you walk into the mall, if we could do that today, walking through the mall, right? And you approach your favorite retailer and you're hit with this big banner at the front door. So let's just take Bath and Body Works, for example, because they do this really well. They usually have two like kind of cubes on the outside of the door that has products on either side. So it's flanking the store. And then they've got this big banner that just like smacks you in the face as you're walking in. And then when you're walking through their store, you'll see these little micro messages throughout the store that brings you from the front of the store to the back of the store. And it's whatever deals they got on, whatever new scents they've brought in, whatever their focus is for that month or that quarter. And I'm thinking to myself, if the big guys do this, if the big retailers do it, why shouldn't we be doing that with our business on social media? It's basically the same thing, right? So what I recommend people do is you look at your year month by month, and you figure out, every business has a seasonality to it, right? So figure out what works for you in the summer months, what works for you in the fall months, what works for you in the winter months, and what works for you in the spring. And figure out what your overall message is going to be for that quarter. And so, or for that month. I mean, it really depends on your business. And then you're going to figure out how many messages your business has that you can sprinkle throughout the year. So let's just take my business, for example, as a social media manager or consultant or something like that. Let's say right now people are struggling with content creation, creating content. I might pick that as my focus for the next month or the next quarter. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of brainstorm on all of the different things that I can provide for creating content. Like, what are the tips and tricks? What are the trainings? What are those things that I can do for content creation? And then I'll plot that out on my content calendar. And so that way, what happens is, let's break it down for a month, for example. Let's say the month of July coming up, we are going to talk about content. And let's say I'm only going to post 3 times a week. And I'm assuming July is a 4-week month. Let's just assume it is. So if I'm posting 3 times a week times 4 weeks, that's only 12 posts that I need to come up with. And so my overarching theme is content creation. So I just know that I need to come up with about 12 posts to talk all about content creation. Now, if you have other parts of your business that you want to promote or talk about and think, that's okay. I'm not saying throw those things away, but what I'm telling you is like kind of get laser focused on whatever that main topic is. And what's going to happen is 2 things. You're really going to drive that portion of your business for the time frame that you've picked. You're also positioning yourself as a thought leader or the go-to expert in your space, because now all of a sudden people are constantly hearing, oh, Laura's really an expert on content creation. She's an expert on content creation. Now, every time they think about content, they're thinking of Lora Shipman. And so, and you just become a leader in that space. So it's a really great focused way of explaining to your audience what you do and how well you do it so they don't forget it. Because if you're peppering them with all the messages about all portions of your business, they're going to be confused, right? Because people need to hear or see a message 12 or 13 times, whatever that number is, before it resonates with them. So getting back to your original question of time management, once you work in that framework of figuring out what your content's going to be for a month, and you sit down and you do it, like maybe it takes you an hour or 2 to do it, you've got so much free time now that you're not trying to scramble coming up with content throughout the month, because you've already written that plan at the beginning. Does that make sense? Does that help at all?
100%. It's so
Yeah.
helpful.
That's
And
great.
and I want to say one of the free resources that you have is I have my note here somewhere, is like a strategy for
Mhm.
Yeah.
the year,
A
right?
schedule. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things. I think I might even have a podcast about that as well. I think it
Mhm,
coincides with the podcast. And so I explain it in the podcast, and then people can, take that little plan that I created for them and just start plotting that stuff out. But that's how I do it. Like, and that's me being a one woman show, and I have multiple, in the double digit of clients. How do I get it done? I'll like get it done like that. That's how I do it, is I think in blocks of time and topics. And a lot of times what I'll do for my clients is we'll pick a topic for the month, and actually the blog post is the one piece of content that drives all the other content. So if you think of your content as a wheel, right? And in the middle, you've got like this, where all the spokes come off of the wheel, that's your blog post in the middle. And so if you do a really good job of building out the content in the blog post, and maybe you only do one blog a month, but you do a really good job on that blog, you're going to have all sorts of content that you can just copy and paste and tweak. So you're not, recreating the wheel every time,
Right.
if that
That's
makes
smart.
sense. So,
Well, that's a life-changing bit of advice,
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
A really important question. What was the sunglass company that you worked for?
I worked with Sunglass Hat International. You guys probably all know them. They're in
Yeah.
so I basically have been in every airport and mall and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kiosk,
destination location. Yeah.
I asked because our father was an ad man. He had his own ad agency for years, and his biggest client was Foster Grant.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
grew up with Foster Grant sunglasses, and
Mhm.
the family lore, as he came up with that saying, is that you behind those Foster Grants.
That's cute.
But we've come to find out that might not be really true.
According to Wikipedia, at least. Although I guess we could just go in and change that.
Yeah.
No one can really stop us. We have a question from Lisa who says, I have a Facebook page
Mhm.
to try and sell my products, but no idea exactly what to do with it. Where do I start? Clueless into hunger.
I'm just curious, what kind of product does she have? What is she trying to sell?
She is a fiber artist, and she crochets beautiful, scarves and knits. And so she's a one-woman operation, crochet artist.
Mhm. Okay,
And
so
she has seasonal lines too. I think that's so she could probably do that seasonal thing you were talking about.
yeah, that would work really well. So I would almost treat her page as a brochure, like I was saying at the beginning, and make sure that she's got all of her products out there. And now Instagram and Facebook both announced that they're doing all of these shoppable things on Instagram. They're leveling it up a little bit more than it was before. So I would look into that. And
what does that mean, shoppable things?
So like you can do, I just glanced at this really quickly, but you'll be able to have like almost like a storefront, I think, on Instagram. So they're just launching that. Right now they have shoppable posts and stuff like that on Instagram where you can actually shop from a post, but I think they're making it more of a transactional storefront from what I read. And I just read that this week. But I think for her, it would be really important for people to see how she actually makes the products so that they can see the quality and the time that's involved and actually take them through her process so that people get to know intimately the business and the brand. And don't be afraid to show what it looks like behind the scenes in your business at all, because that builds more trust with the audience. Because if they get to know like how much time and care you put into each piece of artwork that you're making, because that is artwork, to be able to crochet like that, I think is really important. And then telling stories behind like each piece. Storytelling is a huge part of making sure that that people get in touch with your brand. But I would definitely say Facebook and build that out. Use I think there's even a template if you go into the settings of your Facebook business page. Pick the right template for your page. A lot of people don't know how to do that, and they haven't done that. So they're just on a basic page, or they're on some like bizarre template that really doesn't make sense for their product or their service.
Can you go in and change that after the fact if you realize that you're?
Yep. Yeah, you can change your template at any time. Yeah.
And I think what you just said leads to an important point, which I know you make a lot, which is you don't want to be selling to people. You don't want every post to be like, buy my scarf. You want to engage them in other ways, right?
Exactly right. Yep. And that ends up being selling anyways, because people are more involved with what you're doing and showing them that you're selling them without even realizing you're selling them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
A lot of what we hear, and we've taken this advice to heart, because in the beginning, our company is about promoting other women. And so we spent the first year or so of our business promoting other women, and no one knew who we were.
Yeah.
And people kept saying to us, you know, you've got to be the face of your brand, even though the point is to promote the other women, they need to know about you. So we've been trying to do that more. So talk a little bit about how you balance that. How do you balance promoting yourself versus promoting your product or your brand or your service?
So that's a really good question. And it can be a struggle to do that. And I think Instagram makes it very easy for us to find the balance. And here's why. I think if you look at the regular grid on Instagram and you see like just the regular static posts in your grid there, I think that's a really great place just to showcase your business and what's going on in your business. But Instagram stories, I think, is a fantastic way to bring people in to get to know you as a person and get to know the heart behind the brand. And so some of the things that I do, well, on my Instagram stories, I'll give a content tip every day. So every day when you come in, you're going to get one little, quick win of what I can do for a content idea. But then the rest of the time, I'll show you my dogs. Well, I'll tell you, like last week or the week before, I did a post about how I cut an avocado, which is like different than how anybody else has cut an avocado. And it got me the most traction. It was crazy because, so what happened was when you show somebody how to do something outside of your business and they can apply it at home, they're like trusting you automatically. So because I showed them how to cut this avocado without slicing your hand open, you know how you cut it in half and you're supposed to whack the seed and like
which
pull
never
it out.
works.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Right? So what you do is you cut the avocado in fourths. So you cut it in half like you would, and then go around the other half. And then all of a sudden this thing blooms like a flower and falls apart.
Nice.
Exactly.
Like, who knew?
I'm so glad that you agree with that. That's what I've been doing the last like 2 weeks. I started doing that.
That's so funny. So I showed people on Instagram how to do that. And it was like, oh my God. And then, so those sort of things, I think that's like a really great way to balance between your business and who you are as a brand.
So you use your stories to be more personal, and
Yes.
then the posts are more business related.
Yeah, that's how I do it. And it works well for me because I
Yeah.
tend to have more conversations in the stories with people
Mhm.
than and the stories makes it really easy with all the stickers. Those,
Right.
I call them engagement stickers that you have access to. So it makes it more conversational than say a post. And so what I'll do for my posts is I'll do like infographics, mini trainings that are carousel slides in Instagram. And then I'll share those over on Facebook too.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's how I do the balance.
That's great. That's good advice too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have experienced the just kind of hitting the wall in growing our audience. And it's like you have those, periods where it's just like, oh wow, we got another 100 people, and then, like we're right now at the point where we have 980 or 81 women and 82 women in our group, but it's like getting up to that 1,000 mark, which is like our big goal. Everybody keeps hearing us talk about is like pulling teeth. So what advice do you have for people who are just trying to grow, not looking to get to have 1 million followers tomorrow, but keep the growth going?
Right. So I think it comes down to really making an effort in engagement. So, and what I mean by that is really taking time to, if you're in Facebook and Facebook is your place, engage in the groups that you're members with and answer questions that are in there that are occurring in those groups. Or on Instagram, it's really easy to reach out to new people and just comment and like and share their posts, and then talk to them in the direct messages. And I think the more networking you do, you will see that growth happen. And so I've seen it happen in my own account where I'll spend like 1 or 2 weeks like hyper focused on networking and connecting with people, and it works. And then you kind of get, oh, this is easy now, it's working, whatever. And then you kind of rest on your laurels a little bit.
Right.
And then you hit that plateau. Well, it's kind of the same. And so then you got to go back out and engage and stuff like that. So the engagement portion is really important. For sure.
Yeah. So it's important to comment on other people's posts and let them know you're there for them, as well as expecting them to be there. It's just like a real life friendship.
It's just, I look at networking on social media as I would networking in person. You know, when you're going to networking groups and things like that, kind of apply those same principles and practices to the online world.
Yeah. That's great.
Do you have like one big client success story that was like your most proudest moment?
Let me think here. Well, one of the things that I'm most proud about is definitely my retention. My client retention, like they're lifers. They've been with me from the beginning. Some big wins. What I really like to do, I have a restaurant client that is a really good one. And our success stories with them is they do cooking classes when we could get together and things like that. And to be able to sell out a cooking class by using social media is just huge for me. I just think that in selling out when they have special dining events in their dining room, to be able to sell those out too. Those are success stories for me. I love, they wouldn't have been able to do it without me. So,
yeah.
And then one other thing that was kind of cool too is being able to take on the voice of my client is really exciting, because they will get into the DMs and start messaging back and forth and believe that they're talking to the owner, because I've been able to know their business really well and be able to speak like they would speak or whatever. And I remember this one time I slipped. I did something, saying, oh, I think it was the restaurant. I said, oh, chef, let me ask chef. He's like, oh, this isn't chef? I'm like, oh, no, it's not. I burst his little bubble because he thought he was. So that's that was a huge win for me too, personally.
That's not easy to do.
No, it's
especially
not.
when you have multiple clients.
Right.
Yes. And in different industries too. They're not all from the same industry at all.
Yeah. So you mentioned restaurants, which has obviously been a big topic of conversation in the last couple months. How has all of this coronavirus craziness impacted your clients and you?
Yeah, so for the restaurant, it's been a struggle for them, but the one thing that's really cool about them is they're resilient and flexible, meaning that they're not afraid of trying new things. So we were always on DoorDash and Grubhub and all of those things, but we did different things to inject interest in those areas that wasn't a big part of their business. But then what we did is we made sure it became the big part of their business, and we just kind of massaged things a little bit so that we were flexible with what's going on now and stuff. And then communication was huge during the whole coronavirus thing, just being able to eloquently communicate what's going on so that we're following the rules that the governor for our state has put forth, and that we're making sure our customers are happy and satisfied and safe.
What part of the country are you in?
We're in Florida.
You're in Florida.
Where are you?
Are you still locked down, or are you able to go out now?
No, we can go out now. So restaurants and bars are open, but at, I believe, 50% capacity, and then 6 feet social distancing. So yeah. So
I was reading this great article this morning about this. We're out in California, about this new restaurant in Los Angeles that started this thing called a landing pad, I think they called it. And so they're doing every other table, so people are 6 feet apart, and then every table has a small little side table on wheels. So the waiters come out and put the utensils and the food and everything on the little side cart and walk away, and then you pull the side cart over and set your table and get your food, and then when you're done with your stuff, you put it on the cart and they put the bill there. And so they really have figured out this way, because that's what Amy and I were talking the other day, like, how do you go to a restaurant and not have contact with the waiter? Like,
I
went things back and forth.
Yeah.
And
I went out on Sunday.
They call it the landing pad.
That's cool.
I went out on Sunday to a restaurant. I actually went to a restaurant the other day and ate in the restaurant. And it was, I was saying to my sisters, it was like being that tiny cat in that poster, just hanging there. Everything that happened, I was like, but you know, the waiter wore a mask and gloves, but just to have a person that you don't know approaching you now is like so
It's strange.
really a
Yeah.
weird feeling. And you know, they were very careful, but I think that extra level of distancing would have been nice. It's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
I know. I can't get used to wearing a mask because when I see people in public, I'm smiling. I'm like, they probably don't even know I'm smiling at them.
Yeah.
You know, it's so sad.
I know. I've started nodding. I've started.
Yeah.
If I see someone, I nod because the same way. I always go out of my way. Our friend Stacy Newman Weldon. That was one of her big. She has a company called Adventure Wednesdays, and she takes herself on little adventures. And one of her big things is smiling at people. You know, and so I've really adopted that over the last few years, like really trying to make sure I smile at someone when I walk by. And I realized I went for a walk the other morning and I'm like, why are they looking at me like that? I'm smiling at them. It's like, yeah, they have no idea.
Yeah.
So we have another question, which is, should a small cleaning company start with Facebook and Instagram, or would you recommend another route? So this is a local house cleaning company.
Yeah, I think Facebook is phenomenal for that business because what I would do is get into all the hyper local groups and just talk about your business there. You know, whatever rules the group administrators have, obviously follow those. But I think, and Instagram too, because you can, through like all the geo tags and the hashtags and stuff like that, you can get hyper local. But I think Facebook and Instagram would be great places to start. Definitely Facebook groups, the local ones, and get to know your realtors, because realtors are a great resource for house cleaners for sure. Definitely.
Really. And Aileen commented that you can link your Instagram and Facebook accounts also, right? So what's the advantage of doing that?
So it's a time-saving tip. And so there's two schools of thought here. Some people say, you know, you can link Facebook and Instagram together. So you'll post on Instagram and it'll automatically populate over in Facebook. Some people will say don't do that because they're two different platforms, you know, and if people are following you on Facebook and then on Instagram, they're going to see the same content. My thought on this is do it, because I think that the Instagram user and the Facebook user are two different people. And I don't see that crossover where I've got people following me on Facebook and following me on Instagram. So, and where they're similar enough in their platform, I think it translates okay. But if you were to, you can also, I believe, link Instagram to Twitter and have it auto-populate there. I don't think that's as effective because Twitter, you only have so many characters. It doesn't always transfer the image over correctly. There's some glitchiness that goes on there. So that's where I would say, maybe not such a great idea, but Facebook and Instagram, I think it's fine. People will argue with me and everybody has their own, you know, ideas about how that works, but I haven't seen a drawback from it.
One of my other, oh, sorry, go ahead, Nan.
Do you use any kind of scheduling software so that the posts are scheduled in advance?
I do. And I love Cinch Share. And actually, I didn't think about
What's it called?
It's called Cinch Share, C-I-N-C. Yeah. Okay. I can give you guys a link. They gave me a special 45-day free trial, which I think is pretty healthy. Let me just jump over there and see if I can grab that link for you.
Okay, great.
But it will post to, let me just think. I know Facebook, it'll post. Instagram, you can't really schedule to, but it'll send you a reminder to schedule out. And I think it'll do LinkedIn as well. And it's super simple to do. Hold on, let me get my link. Here it is right here.
In the meantime, I'm going to say Lisa asked in what way, and I don't know what that's in reference to.
She's talking to Aileen.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
They're having a little side conversation.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. They're helping. They're building off what you're saying.
So I put the link in the Zoom chat for us. So I don't know if you need to grab it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Perfect.
So what was I going to say? So I talked to the CEO of CinchShare because at first I didn't use any sort of third-party scheduling because I heard rumors about the Facebook algorithm and stuff like that. Actually, I interviewed her on my podcast show, so you might want to listen to her. And one of the questions I asked her on the podcast was, I'm like, I heard you get nailed for using an outside third-party scheduler on Facebook's algorithm. And she's like, no, we work with Facebook. They're not docking you any sort of algorithm points for using CinchShare. So I wanted to just put that out there in case anybody had fears of using that. But what's
so hard to know like what you're going to get in trouble for and what you're not.
Oh, absolutely. What I love about CinchShare is they've minimized the amount of steps it takes you to schedule something on Facebook. So Facebook scheduler, I always found a little squirrely because sometimes it would want you to go to certain parts of Facebook. It just wasn't convenient. This one is easy, and I can just blow through a bunch of posts quickly. And you can post, I post all of my clients through there. And so I've got like probably 30 clients sitting there, and I'm able to schedule. I could show you, can I do a screen share? I can show you what it looks like if you wanted to see it.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Can you do that yourself, or do you need me to do something here?
Let me see, hold on. Let me go back to my little Zoom thing here and go share screen. Yeah, you have to enable screen share for me.
See how I do that. Multiple types. Okay, let's see if this works. Does that do anything?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay, perfect. So let me get in there. Okay.
You'll be our first screen share. We're learning already.
So this is what CinchShare looks like. So what you would do, you can see this, right?
Yep.
So you would enter text here. You would choose a file to upload here. So we'll just throw that in there. And then over here, you can pick the date and the time you want it to go live, AM or PM. And then here you can pick all the different pages you want it to post to. And so it's just like boom, boom, boom. And then you hit down here, schedule post.
And it looks like it has Facebook pages and LinkedIn pages down below.
Yep.
Right.
So you can do all of that. And then over here, it just shows you all of your scheduled posts, and then they just post automatically for you.
So those are all your scheduled posts?
Those are all my scheduled posts that are going to go out during the month of June. So that's me and all my clients.
Right. No, that's incredible.
Yeah. And so then what's really cool is, let's say, I love this thing called text clips. Let's say you had like several calls to action you wanted your your audience to take care of. You could just like pre-write that, and then at the end, so oops, let me just move this over here. So at the end, you could say, oh, I wanted to put my Father's Day call to action in there. And it just already pre-written for you.
Oh, that's great.
And so like you just, and so it's really cool. And then I'm trying to think, this is really cool. They've done some work for you, which is awesome. So they have all of these different categories over here of different things, and they're already written posts that you can use.
Wow.
So let me just see, like I like sometimes going in here to the quote section, and I'll just pull like a motivational quote and then schedule it. And so that way you have some of that relatable type of content going out to your audience. They've got holidays like here, like they've got, it's like you could spend days in here, but they've got like tons of already done for you posts. Like engagement posts are kind of cool. Let's see what's in summer. Yeah, so some of these things like fill in the blank posts that they've done for you. So that really helps get the conversation started.
Right.
So you've got 45 days with that link. You've got 45 days access to this. And then it's like something crazy, like maybe $10 a month or something like that. I forget. Wow. It's really affordable and worth it.
Right.
So so I thought I'd just show you that.
Oh, that is so great.
That's really great.
And I know, like, I personally haven't used a scheduling software in so long, but I feel like when we used to use them, like it would say you could do like the @ sign and tag somebody. They would never come through properly. Is the software better at that now, or are those things you go in after the fact and kind of update?
Yeah, I don't know that there's a tagging feature in CinchShare. I haven't used that, but it's funny you should ask that, because yesterday or the day before I attempted to do just that. And so I had to go into Facebook and actually tag.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
Aileen is asking if there's a limit to how far in advance you can schedule a post.
that's a good question. I haven't found one yet.
Okay.
Because I at least do a month in advance. But that's a good question. I don't think there is. Actually, let me just look at the scheduler real quick.
Yeah, that's so great. That we haven't been doing that, and we really.
Yeah, like
my problem is finding the time to make the schedule, to schedule the things so that because I'm like, okay, today I'm going to do that. And then I don't get to it. And then it's like, all right, I'll just write tomorrow's post.
The batch and slate, like if you do my batch and slate method of sitting down, like dedicating 1 or 2 hours for the month and coming up with 12 or 15 posts for the month will really help with that. I was looking at the calendar for the Cinch Share, and I was able to go out to 2023.
Oh, wow.
I could still go. So I don't think I think you can.
There's no limit.
That's really good.
And what's your advice about how often to post and how many posts to do?
Yeah, like what is too much, I guess.
Yeah. So the one thing is you don't want to give your audience post fatigue or anything like that. So I don't think it's okay. The one thing that you really need to focus on is the quality of your posts, like really coming up with quality posts, and always ask yourself this question: why would my audience care? Why would they care what I'm posting about? Does this really give them a quick win? What do they benefit from? So that will help you create really high quality content. Then it's exhausting creating high quality content, right? So you may not need to do it 5 days a week. You may just do it 3 times a week, but make sure it's content that really counts. Like don't get caught up in the quantity game, get caught up in the quality game, because that's where you're going to stand out from your competition.
And I know you say to make sure you do a mix of media, to do photos and to do video. And
yeah. And I know everybody's struggle, including my own, is just getting in front of that video camera. But yeah, I would say, a good rule of thumb is 3 times a week. And I would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because it's a good spacing across the week. You got a good rhythm. And I learned that because I had a client where the bulk of their business started on a Thursday, and we would do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday posting. So by the time Tuesday came around, I was getting messages from Facebook saying, you haven't posted in a while. Your audience is looking for you. So then when I'm like, oh, well, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing kind of makes more sense. And
yeah, that's good. Pam asks, does an author need a Facebook page separate from their personal one?
Yes, absolutely. I think first, for 2 reasons. One would be you need to brand yourself, because as an author, your name is your brand. And so you want that brand recognition. And then when you're talking about the books and stuff that you've written and you're trying to sell books and stuff like that, if you try and talk about your business on the Facebook personal profile, that goes against Facebook's terms of service. And you can actually end up in Facebook jail, where one day you'll wake up and you'll try and get into Facebook and you can't do anything. It won't let you post. It won't let you, because you violated the terms. But yeah, definitely you want to be, I would even call it a public figure. I think, they might even have an author template. I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I feel like they do.
I feel like they do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Aileen asks, would you recommend not scheduling out more than a month in advance?
I've done it. It depends on the business and how your business fluctuates and what the business is. I've done it for some businesses that are pretty stable, like there's not a lot of change going on. And the other thing that I like about scheduling ahead of time, if there is a change, it's an easy pivot. It's an easy tweak to go into those scheduled posts and change them. It just really depends on how volatile or flexible that business is. It really depends.
Yeah. tell everybody a little bit about your Facebook group, because that's a really great resource for people who have
Yes.
questions.
So in there, I have a Facebook group, and just people, I post in there, tips and tricks and things like that. I'll post articles in there. If people have questions, I'm happy to answer them there. And then I haven't done this in a while, but I used to go live in there quite a bit. I need to do that a little bit more. And again, it's just quick wins, places people can go to get quick wins about social media. So.
And your email blast is great too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to think the best way, if anybody wanted to get on that list, it would be through,
website. We posted the link to your website.
Yeah, if you go to your
website, they can get any of the resources they sign up for there.
Yeah, we're going to post the resource page separately.
Okay.
We just posted your Facebook group link.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the resource page is amazing.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, if you guys hit pretty much anything on that resource page, you'll end up on my mail list. So, and I don't spam. I do once a week or once every other week. Like
yeah, it's
and
really
it's
good.
Always
it's always
full of
great
information.
When it pops up. It's like, oh, good.
Thank you.
Always something.
Always info in there. Yeah.
And talk a little bit about your podcast. How often do you post, and what kind of stuff do you cover?
So the podcast I post twice a week. On Mondays, it's usually like a longer form training video or training podcast. And then on Wednesday, it's a mini cast. And it is just like a shot in the arm of just information that you jump in, get all the information, jump out and go execute what you've learned. And it's mostly social media based, but then I do have some entrepreneur guests that I interview here and there. So they're a lot of fun to talk to and learn from. But yeah, I try and keep it short, like a half an hour for the most part is the longest I'll try and go, because I know people don't have a lot of time to listen to something that goes on for a couple of hours.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Rebecca commented that she just signed up with SCORE, a group of retired professionals who volunteer to assist people who have business questions. And she's trying to start a business and hoping that this will help guide her in the right direction.
Okay.
But she's feeling overwhelmed. So, we kind of touched on this with Lisa earlier, but what's your number one suggestion for someone who's starting a business, not only learning social media, but actually starting a business while they're trying to learn the social media curve? What's your best tip for them?
For them, from social media standpoint or from business standpoint?
Either, if you have advice on both. So
from social media, I would say definitely come up with a plan and figure out like how often you're going to post. And I would start slow, just do like 3 times, and then figure out the value that you're adding to somebody. Like, why would they care about what you're posting? That's what and understand that it's a marathon, right? Not a sprint, because it will take you some time to get some traction, and network, just network, like what we're doing here, collaborating with people. Actually, that's a really great way to get more exposure for your page, is to collaborate with businesses kind of in the same niche, but that are not direct competitors, where you can have a conversation like this with each other. You can interview each other. You can offer each other, offer the audiences, different things that they can benefit from. That's what I would do. I think your network is going to be your biggest thing. And that's what social media marketing really, I think, is more about networking and getting to know people and learning from those people and offering value.
Yeah, like we've found a few groups. It took us a while to find the right fit of other groups to be a part of. But once we did, we really started to build connections. Like I was the biggest skeptic about social media for years. I didn't even have my own personal page. It freaked me out. And it took a while for me to actually understand that when people said, oh, I made this friend on Facebook, that you actually could make a real life friend on social media. And I think that relates to the business end of it too. It's like, oh, you actually can have a meaningful interaction with someone that you've never met in person.
Yeah. So here's something. Okay, so I have another business. I have 2 businesses. My primary business is my social media business, but then I also own a networking company too.
Oh, cool.
And so it's called Keep It Local, and it started just in my local area. And then one of my local friends, she said, Laura, what if I did a virtual chapter for you? And I'm like, oh, I said, that's pretty interesting. So she's been doing, she's been doing it for a couple of years now. And it's great. And so it's like this, we just do a Zoom call like this, and we do 30-second commercials, we do a feature presentation. So even just getting involved in something like online networking like that will help you. And then your chapter members can help you, I guess, grow your page. Because here's something that with social media, and I call it the hat trick of social media, right? With every time you post, you want to get a like, a comment, and a share. You want those 3 things out of every single post. So if you have a group of people that you network with and you all agree to like, comment, and share on everybody's post, it's going to just expand your reach that much more. So,
right. And what's the name of that? How can people become a part of that?
I will give you, let me give you the link to that
Okay,
website.
cool.
And then I'll actually, because I'll give you the virtual chapter link. So they meet on Friday mornings, and we're Eastern time. So she's 8:00 Eastern. And the funny thing is that this chapter is international. We've got people from France, Australia. I put it in the chat box on Zoom. France, Australia, Norway, and we just had somebody join from Switzerland. And then I think we might have some Canadian people in it, and then all across the United States. So,
That's so
cool.
That's incredible.
And people can go there. You don't have to RSVP or anything. There's a Zoom link on the link that I sent. You can just show up and say, hey, I heard Laura talking about this, and she said I could come. And you can.
Excellent.
So, and Jill is so sweet. You'll love Jill. She is amazing. So
excellent.
So I know it's early for the West Coast people because
it's
Eastern,
but that's good to know. And that we have a lot of East Coast people here. So,
yes, a lot of them.
So that's good. Although Aileen says she won't have her coffee in time for that. So we don't recommend Aileen join.
You don't have to show, if you want to, you can turn your video off, and people do that all the time too.
That's awesome. Well, maybe it will expand to have a West Coast chapter soon.
That would be cool.
That would be great.
Cool. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I feel like we've taken up a lot of Laura's time today.
It was really, really, really incredible, though. That was so helpful to us, and I hope helpful to everyone else who was listening.
I can tell it was.
Thank you so much for your time and your expertise, sharing all that with us.
A lot
of fun. So nice to meet you. We hope that we get to stay in touch with you, and any way we can support what you're doing. You know, that's what we Nancy and I are here for, but also that's what this group is here for. So
thank you, and likewise, you guys too, and just don't be shy about connecting with me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I'm mostly hang out on Instagram, so I'd love to see you guys over there. So
perfect, and we'll post your Instagram handle afterwards too, so people can find you easily.
Great.
And Nan, do you want any announcements?
I don't think we have any announcements at the moment. I think we're caught up.
We have a live on Thursday.
We're doing a live on Thursday. I forget who it's with, though. That's horrible. Oh, Nicole Merrill.
Nicole Merrill, who pivoted her business when COVID happened, and really is giving advice to people on how to navigate from a business perspective, navigate through these times, which even though people are starting to go back out again, there's a long ripple effect of what's happening here that we're all going to need to navigate for a while. So she's going to be great.
Yeah.
And then next week we have Stacy from Adventure Wednesdays.
Yeah, I think that's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Oh,
yeah, 2 weeks.
I've lost all track of time. Is it May? Does anybody know what day it is?
But we will be rescheduling the ones that we postponed last week in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. So we'll let you know when those are happening.
Absolutely.
And I think we have one more box. If anyone wants to buy it, go now, quick, before it's gone.
Yeah, and
And
maybe
we have-
next week we'll give you a little peek at what's inside of it if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and we have 12, I think, 12 or 16. What is it? No, 16 to go to reach 1,000 on our group.
On our group,
If you know
so-
anyone who wants to join the group, please
Recommend.
encourage them. And
And then
Yeah.
also next week, we're going to have a big announcement about something big that we're
Oh.
planning in August.
yes, that's right.
In support of Women's Equality Day.
Yes,
so
cliffhanger. Dun, dun,
Everybody, yeah,
dun.
dun, dun, dun. So everybody, you're going to want to check back in because you're not going to want to miss this big announcement
Yes.
that we've got coming.
Yes. Excellent. All right, everyone. Stay healthy, stay passionate. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Laura. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.